Hey, this is John Hope Bryant, and this is the Money and Wealth podcast series for the Black Effect Network and iHeartRadio. And this is an extension of my work at Operation Hope, where I'm the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of the largest financial literacy coaching organization in America. Um, Over 300 offices and physical offices and 1,500 total satellite and physical offices in over 40 states throughout the country. And we're 30 years deep, and we're best in class at what we do. And we help to create financial literacy policy for the U.S. federal government, where I've served as an advisor for 3 U.S. presidents from both parties. And I'm also an entrepreneur and a businessman, having created over 40 entities, including the largest platform for single family residential rental real estate for a person of color in the country. That was the Promise Homes Company. And then there are other ventures that have involved myself in and I'm involved in, which gives me the credibility to talk to you here. But as I want to be at everybody's kitchen table, I want to empower all of you. I can't get to everybody, and maybe everybody has not yet accessed the power of Operation Hope. I don't know. You should, because through the fundraising I do and we do, you're scholarshiped in. But in case you have not done that, I wanted to give you a teaser version. I wanted to be able to unpack capitalism and free enterprise, economics, ownership, opportunity, financial literacy, and repack it with you in mind to get you from the streets to the C-suites, where executives make critical business decisions, and you can decide whether you want to be one of them, or maybe you don't want to cash a check, meaning be an employee. Maybe you want to write one. Maybe you're a business owner. So I want to give you a platform for that too. So I'm giving you a whole year of episodes that will allow you to have a portfolio, a library of learnings that can transform your life and give you optionality you didn't have before. And you can pass it on to somebody going to college or starting their life or getting married. Say, look, just read this book, Financial Literacy for All, which is a book I wrote, number one book on business finance in the country for the last 4 months. By the way, if you don't have it, get it. If you already have it, review it. Ultimately, I won over 1,000 reviews online. We're over 125 positive reviews now, almost 5-star reviews. And so share your experience, because your opinion matters most to others who are looking to have confidence to take back their life. So here you are. You have the book Financial Literacy for All. It's my 6th book. Number one bestseller in business finance. You've got Operation Hope, number one in the country on financial literacy coaching, counseling, and financial literacy education, certainly in underserved neighborhoods. You have my personal experience as an entrepreneur with a lived experience. I'm not telling you what I don't know. And now you've got the actual toolbox, which is this podcast, weekly ministry of finance I have. And today we're going to dive into and unpack the hotel industry. Now, it's a pretty provocative statement I've made. It's a $250 billion plus industry in America, $250 billion plus of the hotel industry. It does not include the Airbnbs and others. This is just hotels, all right? It's $250 billion. And I made the provocative statement that half of that is controlled by minorities. What the heck? Yes, I want you to be inspired. So before I break down the hotel industry and tell you how it works, I want to tell you who's doing it and who and how minority group controls half of this entire sector of hotels. So let's get into it. Indian Americans own a significant portion of hotels in the United States. It's just inspiring, particularly those well, I'm talking about Indian, as in from India. So, not Native American Indians, unfortunately, right? These are Indians from their native country of India, who own 50% share in all hotels in this country. The phenomena is largely associated with immigrants from the state of Gujarat in India, especially from the Patel community. All right. So the Gujarat region substantial number of Indian American hotel owners are from this region, a state in Western India. I've visited India, mostly the Triangle, they call it, which is Delhi and Rajasthan and Jaipur. I mean, it's India is an amazing, wonderful place. Really, a country. You got 50 countries within the country. Really, when you think about it, with all of the dialects and cultures there. And again, my experience mostly was in Delhi and around that area. But uh, you have other areas like this area, Gujarat, that's in Western India, where the Patel community, uh, uh, also known as Patidar, uh, in particular, uh, originate. Their surname becomes synonymous with the hotel industry in the United States in the mid 20th century. The initial wave of immigrants arrived in the U.S. In the mid 1900s, investing in small motels as a way to achieve economic stability and upward mobility. Up from nothing. That was my last book, by the way. Up from nothing. The surname has become synonymous with this sector, um, and for good reason. They actually are extraordinarily good at this, and they have vertically integrated their space. Their their habit has been to create just really great structures for business, and no surprise, hire those they know, and really their family members. There was an Immigration Act, the Nationality Act of 1965, which allowed for greater numbers of skilled workers and their families to enter the U.S. And this was a sort of a triggering opportunity for those who want to come here and to build entrepreneurial um, uh, activity and businesses, and to gain asset ownership. The Patel community and other Gujarati immigrants brought with them a strong entrepreneurial spirit. They often pooled resources within their extended families to purchase and manage hotels, motels mostly. This practice of communal financing and support helped them to gradually expand their holdings. This was not some organized situation of group think where you have one corporate entity that owns these hotels. These are a group of entrepreneurs and business owners. And yes, entrepreneurship and business ownership are different. Maybe I'll do that as a separate podcast. But as a group or as a community, they own, once again, 50% market share in this area. They collaborate, cooperate together, and particularly in the area of pooling their finances, I've already mentioned. Many Indian American hotel owners started with budget hotels, and they gradually expanded their business through hard work, being very frugal, and reinvesting their profits. They didn't floss, they just wanted to be the boss. They often lived on site, meaning they lived in the hotels and motels. They managed operations themselves and kept low costs, or kept their costs low to maximize their profitability by, again, hiring their family members and living. They didn't have any living expenses because they were staying on property, which means they didn't have to cut a check to themselves, which would have taken profitability out of the business enterprise. Uh, Indian American hotel owners. When I say hotel, I mean motel and the entire. I'm gonna get into the categories of what makes up the hotel industry in a minute, but I'm saying in general terms, hotels at the moment, which includes motels, etc. Um, they've established a strong network and associations, such as this is the Indian Americans, such as the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, which provides support, advocacy, and resources for their members. Uh, they're one of the largest such organizations in the U.S. and has played a crucial role in the success of Indian American hotel owners. Now, what poor group has a lobbyist in Washington? What struggling group? Like, this is one of the problems. If you're not at the table, you tend to be on the menu. And these folks made sure that they realized that legislation was going to be created in Washington, whether they liked it or not. And when you're being run out of town, get in front of the crowd and make like a parade. So these folks decided to get in the game and not complain about it, to master it. That's what I talk about financial literacy. I say it all the time because of the Freedmen's Bank, 1865, when a bank chartered to teach free slaves about money, and Lincoln was killed and the bank was lost, even though Frederick Douglass, a great black entrepreneur, tried to save it. That as a result of that, and us not getting the memo for 150 years, we're not dumb and we're not stupid. It's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, what we think we know, because no one ever taught us what I'm telling you now, which is how capitalism and free enterprise works. And so, in many ways, we've been afraid of money. We thought that money was evil. And money's not evil. The love of money is evil. And here's the exact opposite of that example. They understood that this group understood of Indian Americans, as in from India, that they had no political power. They had no, they weren't part of the class structure here, all that stuff, the power structure. So they had to create their own influence and power through ownership, um, through making a profit and reinvesting it back in their own communities, and through having a trade association of their own that was focused on, managing legislative process in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere. The second generation involvement. Often you hear with wealthy families, the first generation makes it, second generation spends it, third generation loses it. Hello. That is very true. I'll repeat again. First generation makes it, second generation spends it, third generation loses it. So the first generation feels sorry that they weren't hanging out with their children, giving them time, whatever. Don't want their children to struggle. I think struggle has a purpose to it. You cannot grow without legitimate suffering. So says the Bible. We cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. So we rob our kids in the second generation oftentimes of the ability to understand what it took in the first generation to make it in the first place, which means the third generation ends up losing everything. And good intentions are not enough. So the second generation of Indian Americans have been involved with the hotel industry. The success of the first generation immigrants paved the way for their children to continue in the business, often expanding into more upscale properties and diversified business ventures. Many second generation Indian Americans have pursued higher education in business and hospitality management to further professionalize and grow their family businesses. Software upgrades as you go. You've heard me talk about that a lot. You always want to be better. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen twice as much as you talk. I'm just nosy. Ask Quincy Jones, how'd you get so smart? He said, I'm just nosy as hell. I want to know everything about everything. Well, I'm nosy too. That's why my study here where I record is filled with books, and my iPad is filled with books when I'm traveling. That's why I write books and I read books, because I'm nosy, and knowledge and education is something that no one can take from you. The Indian American community, again, different from the Native American Indian community. I'll do a separate podcast on the Native Americans as part of this series, but the Indian American community from India recognized what it took to create power. We didn't have any, and they've done a really good job of it. And they've been very focused, keeping their head down and building. Um, this combination of cultural background, community support, and entrepreneurial mindset and strategic use of resources has enabled Indian Americans, particularly those from the Patel community, to dominate a significant segment of the U.S. hotel industry. Isn't that cool? I mean, I just love that. Now, there are not just the Indian Americans who've done well in the hotel sector. And let me also say that there's a reason why African Americans have not done as well as they could in this sector. And that's because Jim Crow laws almost legally restricted them from even accessing a hotel, yet alone owning one. And the Indian community started their hotel ownership at a time during the civil rights movement period where African Americans had problem even accessing, meaning being able to sit at the counter of a restaurant, or even check into one, period. And but I'm getting ahead of myself. So here are some minority groups who've done pretty well, or noteworthy, shall I say, in the hotel industry. Asian Americans, particularly Chinese and Filipino Americans. Many Asian Americans have leveraged strong family networks, community support, and traditions of entrepreneurship. The cultural emphasis on education and hard work has also contributed to their success. Additionally, some Asian American entrepreneurs have focused on niche markets and specialized services, catering to specific cultural needs within their own community. And I'm sure speaking Mandarin, in the case of Chinese, to my Mandarin visitors, really helped them to own a niche in, let's say, Chinatown, maybe in small hotels and motels in Chinatown, the Chinatown communities across the country. That was a way for them to really have a lock on that business sector. African American owners of hotels in the U.S. I'm going to come back and do this last. Hispanic owners, Hispanic owners, Hispanic American owners often leverage bilingual skills and cultural connections to cater to a diverse clientele. Many have also capitalized on the growing Hispanic population in the U.S. by offering culturally relevant services and amenities, including, again, language specialization, speaking Spanish, community support, and entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurial initiatives aimed at Hispanic business owners have also played a significant role in their success. Middle Eastern Americans have been successful in hotel ownership. Middle Eastern American entrepreneurs and small business owners have found success through strong community networks and a focus on high quality customer service. I say entrepreneurship and small business, they're not interchangeable terms, by the way. Small business owners are somebody who has an existing business plan. They're using an existing business plan, and an entrepreneur basically creates a new business plan, a new idea. And yes, you can have an entrepreneur that's also a business owner. Um, and You can have a business owner that's entrepreneurial, right? But hotels, as a general rule, are just businesses because you're a business owner. You have a traditional business plan. But if you've rewritten the rules of how you're going to succeed in that space, then you might be called, in that case example, an entrepreneur. So you just learned something new. Some of you today, the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner, which many people use as an interchangeable phrase. Many from the Middle Eastern communities think Iran, think Persian Empire is Iran, but think Iran, think uh, you know Iraq, think all of the folks that come from the Middle Eastern region, and this is the group, Saudi Arabia, et cetera, that I'm talking about. UAE, et cetera, et cetera. Many have also targeted niche markets, offering unique experiences and catering to specific cultural differences. Again, language and food and religion is an area that they could positively exploit for. I don't mean exploit in a bad way. I mean exploit in a positive way for those that they are trying to garner as customers. Now, African Americans could have done that without question and did do that. In fact, you heard about the Underground Railroad. There was an underground hotel system for African Americans during Jim Crow and segregation. It was called the Green Book. Did you know that? It was officially titled the Negro Motorist Green Book, published annually from 1936 to 1966 by Victor Hugo Green. Yes, there was a guy named Green, and he called it the Green Book. He had a right to name it after himself. Exactly right. And I want to give him his credit. He was a black postal worker. Hello. The Green Book and he was a business owner in this example. In fact, I would say he was even an entrepreneur in the way in which he went about this. The Green Book provided African American travelers with information on safe places to stay, eat, and obtain services across the United States. It was an essential guide that helped Black travelers navigate the dangers and inconveniences of segregation and Jim Crow laws. You know who else used the Green Book? Prominent entertainers, African American entertainers and sports figures who would not be allowed to stay in mainstream establishments. Now, several African Americans have made significant strides and achieved success as hotel owners, and I want to give them some love. Sheila Johnson. Sheila Johnson is a successful entrepreneur not just a business owner. She remodeled the whole situation with her hotels that I'm aware of, even um, in or in and around Washington D.C. But I'm getting going too far. She was an entrepreneur, business owner, and philanthropist, and co-founder of Black Entertainment Television (BET) with another gentleman on this list, by the way. Um, she's uh, the CEO and founder of Salamander Hotels and Resorts, which owns and manages luxury properties, including the Salamander Resort and Spa in Middleburg, Virginia, and other luxury hotels in the U.S., including what used to be called the Mandarin Hotel in Washington, D.C. And I'm planning on going to visit both of those hotels and giving her some business very soon. Now, she's number one on the list. And oddly enough, number three on the list is her ex husband, Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson, the founder of BET and a successful, I guess he's a co founder with her, a successful businessman with ventures in various industries, including hotels. And in fact, he founded RLJ Lodging Trust, a real estate investment trust, and a REIT, they call those, focused on the ownership of high quality hotels. RLJ Trust owns a diverse portfolio of hotels across the U.S. Herman J. Russell, God rest his soul, great businessman in construction management company and developer and owner. He was an influential businessman and by the way, a big supporter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., friend of my mentor, Ambassador Andrew Young, really friend of the civil rights movement. He's a philanthropist known for contributions to the construction and real estate business here in the ATL in Atlanta. Russell founded the H.J. Russell and Company, which is children who are friends of mine, Michael Jerome, their sister, the family run it now, which developed and owned several hotels, including um, a hotel they have that's right now that's next to the famed restaurant that's in the um, I forget what I would call that. I don't want to miscall the area, but I'll just say it's on the middle west side of Atlanta, near the historically black colleges and universities. His company played a pivotal role in shaping Atlanta's skyline and hospitality landscape. I think he also built the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta. I don't know if he owned it, but I think he built it. And then my brother, Don Peoples. I love this brother. Prominent real estate developer and author. He lives in Florida and New York. He's a founder of and CEO of People's Corporation, a real estate development company. You know that real estate development companies don't necessarily own and operate what they develop. Sometimes you develop it and you spin it off, or you develop it for somebody else. But he has developed and also owned several luxury hotels and mixed-use developments, including the Royal Palm Resort in Palm Beach. He's trying to do a major development now, not a hotel, a skyscraper. So be on the lookout for what Don Peoples is doing. Michael V. Roberts is an entrepreneur and author with interest in various industries, including telecommunications and real estate. Roberts and his brother, Stephen Roberts, co-founded the Roberts Companies, which includes Roberts Hotel Group. The group has owned and managed several hotels, including the Roberts Mayfair Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri, where my friend uh, is Miss Mayor Jones, is the mayor to this day, or on this day, or I don't know how you say these days, trying to help St. Louis to go to the next level. And she's going to be part of my American Aspiration Tour. So watch out, look out for that, which is coming here soon. And so, why or how shall I say uh, does this business work? How can they own, you say, half of all hotels when you drive by hotels all day and there's only three or four names that you know of? Well, first of all, just because you drive by and see the name of a hotel, Hyatt, Marriott, um, Starwood, Hilton, etc., Ritz Carlton, whatever, the Four Seasons. That does not mean that the company owns that hotel. Did you know that? So let me get into this a little bit. Oftentimes, these are management agreements where you have, like the Four Seasons Hotel on Doheny in Los Angeles, one of my favorites since I was, 18, 19, 20 years old, to go and visit. And I stay there to this day sometimes. Um, And I don't want to tell you guys too much about where I'm staying, so people hunt me down. But it's one of my favorite hotels. But there's a gentleman who owns it, and his wife, and they live on the top floor. They're the real estate developers and owners who own the hotel, but it's managed by the Four Seasons. Four Seasons does not own that hotel, even though their name is plastered on the side of it. So here are the types of hotels. So now you can start to try to figure out who's the owner and who's the man and where's the owner and in what instances there's an owner and or a management company involved in the hotels that you love. Types of hotels: budget hotels. They offer basic accommodation and amenities at a lower price point. That's their niche. You can think about the names of those. A lot of these hotel management companies, the hotel chains, have tried to vertically integrate their offerings. So you have a little bit of everything I'm about to mention. Mid-range hotels. They provide a balance of comfort and affordability, often including additional services like restaurants, fitness centers, and meeting rooms. COVID changed all of this, by the way, and a lot of these hotels, with the exception of the ones at the top of the food chain here, it's like it's do it yourself now. Like room service is a thing of the past. COVID cut out a lot of that out. It allowed them to start doing cost cutting, and I think sometimes to their own detriment. I don't want to start naming names here, but there's one hotel I'm thinking about in particular that owns a high end hotel, actually chain, that they've really taken a hit on their customer service. I try not to stay there. See if you can guess which chain I'm talking about. They used to be best in class, and now they're just another class. And I think that they won the battle and lost the war by cutting out or even giving the option for high end services or even just room service. You know how irritating it is to get into a city at midnight. And hotels like my second second home. My wife would tell you. I reside in Atlanta and live on a plane, and then temporarily reside in these hotels. And you know how irritating it is to get someplace at midnight and room service is shut down. There's no, or even 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and there's nothing there, and they have no optionality, and they just tell you to go order food online or go find some unhealthy option at some little store or something. So those who do it really well, as you know, I told you the Indian American experience. I really spend a lot of time thinking through that the resident or client experience. I won't say resident because you're only residing there for a day. You think about, by the way, think about a hotel as like a day stay apartment building. Okay, so it's an apartment building with a logo on the outside that's really designed for you to stay by the day. Thought about that? Deep, huh? So the revenue is collected every day versus in an apartment building is collected once a month. Mid-range hotels already covered that. Luxury hotels, high end. By the way, you don't have to own if you want to get in these businesses. You don't have to own the hotels. You can do what my Ethiopian brothers and sisters have done in places like Washington D.C. They come in and they're the bellmen, and they're actually being paid, the doorman, the bellman. They're paid to do that, and then they get to know all the clients, get to know all the the needs, and then they've gone into the taxi business. They've gone into Uber and Lyft business, and and really in many of these hotels, like the one of the hotels I stay in Washington D.C. No, I'm not going to tell you the name. Uh, the all I mean, literally, it's Ethiopians from the door to the curb to the transportation. It's like a T. The door, all that traffic of doormen helping you with your bags and opening the doors and all that stuff, uh, and the curb, same thing, welcoming you, and the transportation going both ways. The taxis, the lifts, the Ubers, the transportation, the VIP transportation, all that's effectively controlled by my Ethiopian brothers and sisters who saw a market and didn't need a lot of capital to do that. And just like my Native American, just like my Indian brothers and sisters, Indians from India, Batel community, the Ethiopians can do the same thing. Not just that group, any group, right? But I'm just giving you some examples of folks who are actually doing it. Luxury hotels, high-end accommodations with premium services, amenities, and personalized guest experiences. Think about four-star and five-star hotels. Boutique hotels, smaller, unique hotels that offers personalized services and distinctive decor and themes. These are typically one-off hotels, boutique hotels that, and this is something your family can do. It's something you can do if you're passionate about a certain area, community, maybe an area you want to retire to and rewire to. You don't want to just retire, you want to rewire. Yeah, that's a John Bryant quote. Make sure you give me credit a few times before you try to steal it. Dr. King used to say to pastors when he'd hear something he loved, he said, "Oh, Joe, Reverend Pastor, I love that idea. I love that quote. I love that saying. That's great. I'm going to use that. The first three times, first four times I use it, I'm going to give you credit. The fourth or fifth time is mine." Happy to use anything I say. Success is a habit, right? Success is intentional, and I want you to be intentional about picking up good habits because, as you've heard me say, be repeatedly, if you hang around nine broke people, you'll be the 10th. Extended stay hotels cater to guests needing accommodations for longer periods and typically offering kitchen facilities and more living space. And extended stay hotels and budget and mid-range hotels often triangulate. They intersperse. They're the same thing in many cases. Those who want budget accommodations and mid-range accommodations typically also are the market for extended stay. Although you can have a upscale boutique extended stay hotel, right? You can mix this thing up. The revenue streams, room revenue, the primary revenue of income and generated from it renting out rooms to guests on a nightly basis. What did I just tell you? That an apartment building is basically 30 days worth of room rates, daily room rates from a hotel. So an apartment building, if you look at it, a hotel, it could be an apartment building. Yes, it could. All right. Um, but it uh, is chosen to, in its business model, to make its money in a hotel by the day. Food and beverage sales, income from on-site restaurants, bars, room service, and banquet services, events. Um, Event hostings, revenue from hosting conferences, weddings, and other events and meeting rooms and banquet halls. Additional services, income from services such as laundry, spa treatments, and other kind of, um, uh, you know, I was about to say the gym, but I hope they're not charging for gym activities. But there are other treatments beyond spa treatments that are wellness. They're more wellness oriented, et cetera, that these places are getting into. And some of these places are even providing like red light therapy and all this other kind of stuff, which are, again, they got you held captured there. You're held captive there by your own, uh, you're voluntarily held captive there. And while you have you within their four walls, they want to figure out how many ways they can separate you from your wallet in a positive way by meeting your needs. Parking and concierge services are also additional revenue streams. And oftentimes, when folks are referring you to an outside service at the hotel, the hotel's getting a piece of it, or the concierge is getting a commission. All good, no problem with any of that. Cost structure: there's fixed and variable costs, expenses that do not uh, uh, change with occupancy levels such as mortgage or lease payments. This is you're not the owner of the hotel. Property taxes, insurance, and salaries of permanent staff. Those costs are permanent. They're locked in. Variable costs that vary with occupancy levels, including housekeeping, utilities, guest amenities, food, and beverages. So you can moderate those depending on what your how busy your hotel is. You can increase them or decrease them. uh, Operations and management, front desk operations, they handle reservations, check-ins, checkouts, guest services, housekeeping, of course cleanliness, ordering in the order of the rooms and public areas. Food and beverage, they manage the restaurants, the bars, the room service, catering services. Maintenance, ensure that the property and its facilities are in good working order, right? Including internet, things like that. You ever called at midnight or 1 in the morning? My internet's not working. Can you send a technician up? That's maintenance. Sales and marketing, promote the hotel. They manage relations with travel agencies and online booking platforms and develop promotional packages. In other words, they're in charge of getting customers. The distribution channels, I'm going to do this real quickly here because you're smart and you think you've gotten the gist of this so far. Like your head should be nodding. Okay, I get this, right? I want to get to a bonus track I'm going to give you on Airbnb, right? I'm going to get to that in a minute. So distribution channels, direct bookings, reservations made directly through the hotel's website or reservations. That used to be a big thing. Now it's just a thing. Online travel agencies, OTAs, bookings made through third-party platforms like Expedia, Bookings.com, Airbnb, which typically charge a commission. I'll come back to that because that's not their primary business at all. And by the way, you can start an online booking service yourself. This is another business you might start. Also, all the vendors that support a hotel, you can start be a vendor of one of those businesses, and you don't have to sell the whole hotel chain. You can just sell the owners of that one hotel or the management company of that one hotel on your ability, the general manager of that hotel on your ability to meet a need or provide value. And that's the way you can get started with your business in a box, your business within their box. There are businesses that literally just survive on the business or on the contracts with hotels. That's all they do. Global distribution systems, GDS, used by uh, uh, travel agents to book rooms for their clients, GDS. Corporate accounts, agreements with companies like my company, Bryant Group companies and Operation Hope, et cetera, which gets a nonprofit rate, by the way. It's a whole other thing. So nonprofits should get if you get a discounted rate at these major hotels. They provide accommodations for their employees at negotiated predetermined rates. Did you know that? Companies, nonprofits, organizations, governments, there's a government discount. Group bookings, reservations for groups such as tour groups and conventions and birthdays and corporate events. Pricing strategies, all right? There's dynamic pricing, adjusting room rates based on demand, competition, and market conditions. You notice that the room rates go up and down based on the season. That's what I'm talking about. So it is supply and demand. Don't get angry. Don't get upset that the room rates change. It's supply and demand. Fair exchange is no robbery. This is just the way business works. I've already talked about seasonal pricing, package deals offering bundled services such as rooms and breakfast or special event packages. I'm going to be talking about reward programs in one of my podcasts. So wait for that, but you want to try to get a package deal. This is if you're the consumer side. If you're on the business side, then you want to bundle this with vendors, right? And with your in-house services, so that you're providing a lot of value for the customer, but more profitability for yourself. Loyalty programs, incentives for repeat guests, such as discounts, free nights, or exclusive benefits. These are the pricing strategies, right, of the hotel. Customer experience includes, service quality, ensuring high standards for service to meet expected, the guest expectations. I've been talking about that endlessly because it's so important. Guest feedback and personalization, offering tailored experiences based on guest preferences and previous stays. I go to this hotel in Washington. No, Washington. This is New York City. I'll tell you which one that is. The Park Hyatt in New York City, and on 57th and near Central Park. And I recently showed up there. It was very late and I was wiped out. And I walk in and they've got a smock, not smock, an apron that they made just for me. They embroidered my name on it, John Hope Bryant. And it was a gift to me, which just reminded me of how much business I must be giving them. But they're also just good, just really nice people. It was a gift for me and it really touched my heart. And I could have, and they're like, let us cook a meal together. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I actually sent the general manager a note. And I mean, I'm sure that, they're trying to lock me in as a, a guest that won't go anyplace else. And by the way, in New York City, it's working. I just go there. Technology and innovation, property management systems, PMS, software to manage reservations, billings, and guest information. Revenue management systems, RMS, tools to optimize pricing and inventory. Customer relations management, CRM, systems to track guest preferences and interactions. This is pretty cool. It's the way this works, isn't it? Mobile and online services, apps and websites for booking, check-in, room service, and guest service, um, and guest services. So these platforms allow the hotel to work efficiently, right? Franchising and ownership models. This is what I was talking about earlier, right? Independent hotels, owned and operated by individuals or small groups without affiliation to major brands. A lot of the Patel community have done this. This is how almost all of them started out, and how the Black community also started out. Franchise hotels operate under a franchise agreement with a major hotel brand, paying franchise fees for brand recognition, marketing, and operational support. Um, there's a young lady here in Atlanta. I don't know anything about her business. I'm not endorsing it. I don't know a thing about her business, right? But I do want to give her some acknowledgement because I know she's hustling and trying to make it. Davon Reeves, and she is working to acquire uh, one or several hotels, and as I understand it, they're franchise arrangements, right? Or there might be management contracts also, but these she's associating herself with recognized brands, and she's trying to come up from nothing. And I commend her on her hustle and wish her well. And there are others out there that you guys send me a notes on other African Americans and Latinos and minorities and women and trying to make it. Even if you're poor white, you're trying to make it. Let me know what's going on with you so I can promote and encourage you. And go to Operation Hope for free services through our small business programs and our 1 million Black business program that helps, and our financial coaching programs that helps you come up from nothing, right? And it's all scholarship, so it doesn't cost you anything because of our partnerships with our members at Operation Hope and our partners. So you have independent hotels, franchise hotels, management contracts. This is the part I was telling you. You drive by these places, you assume that they own that's the owner because their name is on the wall. Don't make that assumption. Whenever you assume, you make it out of you and me. You figure out what I'm trying to say. Property owners hire hotel management companies to operate the hotels on their behalf, sharing revenue and profits. That deep? So an investor like me owns a building and they give a management contract to that's why you can see the same property that changes hands um, month to month, not month to month, but from one month to the other, because just in the name outside change, because it's just a simple another property management company took over. Hotel chains, large companies that own, manage, or franchise multiple hotels under various brands. So the hotel business, has been around for um, centuries. Yes, centuries. It goes back forever. Um, and so if you're looking for a business that will be around for a long time and will is pretty much AI bulletproof because you can't give an artificial intelligence experience to actually physically staying somewhere, even though AI will refine how these places do business. And the next model I'm going to give you is using AI. I know the founder. Um, this is Airbnb. Brian Chesky is the founder. Good guy. Just saw him recently. And in full disclosure, they're a member of Operation Hope, the 1865 Project, and a new partner in our work. I believe it's 1 million Black Business Initiative. And so there, hopefully good news is coming soon from what we're doing with them. I've told them there's a market that people of color, underserved communities are untapped or under tapped as a market potential for Airbnb. So here's how Airbnb works: so this is separate from the traditional hotel industry, folks. This is really smart. I mean, you should read Brian's story of how he and um, his co-founder is also a cool guy doing philanthropic work and helped bring a lot of immigrants in from war-torn areas in the world a few years ago during the pandemic. Actually, I think it was. So Airbnb is a peer-to-peer platform that connects individuals looking to rent out their properties, hosts, with those seeking the short-term accommodations, guests. So here's a breakdown in summary of how this platform works. It provides an online marketplace where hosts can list their properties and guests can search for and book properties. So hotels are big buildings that look like apartment buildings with a hotel brand on it. Airbnb typically is a home. At least it started out as a home, but hold on a minute because even that's changing or expanding, shall I say. The platform facilitates the entire booking process, including communication, payment, and even reviews. Hosts, you list your property. Hosts create listings for their properties, which can range from single rooms to an entire house or unique stays like tree houses and boats. Yes, tree houses and boats. And by the way, the founder Brian goes around the country and stays in a lot of different places. And for a while, I think he didn't even have a home. I think he told me because he was just wanted to fully experience uh, all the Airbnbs in his network. He's living his dream, like literally, and I respect that. They provide these different properties provide details and photo availability and pricing for what they're offering you. Hosts set their own prices for their properties. Did you know that? There's a guide that's Airbnb offers. It's a guiding tool, but it's America. You do as you like, even though they're a global company, by the way. But you got to be competitively priced, otherwise nobody's going to stay in your spot. Hosting services. Hosts are responsible for maintaining their properties, providing amenities, and ensuring a good guest experience. Guests. Guests search for accommodations based on location, date, price, dates of that you want to travel, price range, and other preferences. They can view listings, read reviews, et cetera, et cetera. Guests pay through Airbnb's platform, and Airbnb holds the payment until 24 hours after checkout to ensure the property meets the guests' expectations. Now, the revenue model. Guest service fees, about 14%. So if you're staying, so most of the money comes from folks staying at Airbnbs, not the people who own the properties, which I think is a pretty cool. I think that's a very fair and smart approach. So about 14% of what you pay in Airbnb is going to cover Airbnb. And it covers customer support and other services, bookings, etc. The host charges a service fee tied to the host is charged a service fee tied to their experience with Airbnb of about 3% of the booking subtotal to cover the cost of processing payments. Now, oddly enough, and this may not be what Brian had intended, or may not have been the reason he did this, but I just find that interesting that that's about the fee that a broker would charge on one side of a transaction to sell or buy or help you buy a home. Just a broker, the real estate brokerage commissions. Is that right? Yeah, 6%, half of that, 3%. But that's just my own riffing on the topic, but it's 3%, which is pretty reasonable. And that combined, that 17% is how Airbnb makes their money. And I'm gonna come back to that in a minute because it's tied to revenues. Um, so Airbnb also offers guests the option to book local experiences such as tours, classes, activities hosted by local experts. Airbnb takes a percentage of the fee for these experiences. They disclose it, no problem. Again, fair exchange is no robbery. Airbnb Plus. Did you know about this? The program features high quality listings that have been verified for quality and comfort. Hosts pay an additional fee for this verification and the enhanced visibility that comes with it. It's like getting in a um, you know Uber black car or something, I guess, right? Airbnb Lux. Hello, a luxury tier offering high-end properties and premier services and amenities. The fee structure for these listings are typically higher, and they're competing with these companies, many of which I know about, where wealthy people want to you want to rent a mansion or whatever it is you want to rent or a resort property. They're now competing with these companies, and some of these companies actually um, you become part of an ownership group that owns you're part of an ownership group of the company, and that gives you access to luxury properties all around the world, free X period of times of the year. Think about like a timeshare for rich people. It's pretty cool platforming because the real estate actually, unlike a timeshare, goes up in value typically, and you typically sell your membership at a profit. So that's a different business model for another day, but that's who Airbnb Lux is sort of competing with. Insurance and guarantees. Host guarantees. Airbnb provides a host guarantee program that offers protection up to $1 million. Did you know that? For damages to host properties. Host protection insurance. This program provides liability insurance for hosts in the event of guest injury or damage to their belongings. We all know how important reviews and ratings are. Regulation and compliance. Airbnb must, comply with local laws. This has become a thing in certain parts of the country and the world where local leaders push back on having Airbnb in their communities. In Maui, where a place I love, there's like an unofficial Airbnb where folks buy a property and they rent out. a guest house in the back, and the guest house is actually how you're able to stay in the front house. Like, that's the way people can afford to live in Maui because it's very expensive. And there's been a lot of pushback from the local government to basically ban that activity, which might put a lot of people out of business and lower the value of the property. Okay, I'm getting off topic because I love real estate. Um, and technology and data. We're going back to Airbnb now. Airbnb uses data analytics to provide to improve, user experiences, to optimize pricing and provide personalized recommendations. They also, I'll be talking to them about this because I'm involved now in this AI Ethics Council. They also invest in AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to enhance search functionality, fraud protection. We all want that, and enhance customer service. Now, revenue. Hold on to your boots. In 2023, Airbnb generated about just under $10 billion in revenue. That was just under a 20% increase from the previous year. They saw 448 million bookings uh, and hosted around 7.7 million listings globally. Airbnb gross booking value was about $73 billion in change, uh, reflecting a significant market presence and growth of the platform. Kudos to you, Brian Chesky, for what you built. Proud of you. And if you look at the $73 million number and you back out of that the 9.9, $10 billion number, now you can see those fees I was talking to you about earlier. Okay, so I've explained to you the hotel industry. I've explained to you the different types of hotels. I've explained to you the difference between a motel and a hotel and the different kinds of hotels in the hotel categories, right? Uh, I've explained to you the revenue model, right? Um, and uh, and how they make their money. Uh, I've explained to you uh, uh, how this minority group, Indians from India, the Patel community, how they've done so well in less than 100 years, really 70 years ish, to dominate minority ownership presence in the hotel and motel space, representing fully 50% of all hotels and motels in the country. Um, and I've explained to you and broken down the different minority groups that have done well in this space. And just to go one step um, deeper, uh, hotels versus motels, right? Just if you want to be like fully briefed in this area because maybe this is an area that you want to retire to and in, and you want to know everything about it because you're going to start your own, right? Motels are commonly located along highways and on outskirts of towns, usually 1 or 2 story buildings with exterior entrances to rooms. Um, they have basic facilities, often limited to parking, with sometimes, well, they have often limited parking, like they don't have parking structures, right? Typically, motels don't, and they're not looking like they're not looking like the apartment buildings I mentioned earlier about hotels. These are typically 1 or 2 story um, buildings, right? You can get your mind around what I'm talking about now. About a motel. The parking is typically outside. Typically, you actually drive up in front of some of the rooms where you would stay at. Sometimes they have a small swimming pool or a breakfast area. More limited services with a focus on convenience and affordability. So you get your own stuff, is what I mean by a motel. Hotels are typically found in city centers, business districts, and tourist areas, larger buildings with multiple floors and extensive facilities. These amenities include restaurants, bars, gyms, swimming pools, conference rooms, concierges, starting to get it. Generally offer higher levels of service, including room service. Listen, hotel owners and management companies watching or listening to this podcast, get your stuff right. Otherwise, folks will start eating your lunch. No pun intended. uh, finding other ways to compete with you. People like me want good service. When we're away from home, we need to feel like we're at home, and we're already tired and worn out when we get to the place. We don't have to go having to figure out, how not to get botulism at 2 in the morning and ordering from some app to, get some food delivered to us, even though the Uber Eats apps and all those apps are actually a pretty cool option. You're already tired, you're worn out. You don't want to be wasting your time having to order food. You got to go back, get dressed, go back downstairs and meet the person. And do I sound irritated, by the way? By the way, okay, quick funny story before I let you go. By the way, if you enjoyed this episode, if you have, let me know on one of my social media accounts what you liked about it, and then also what else you want me to cover, what other topics, industries, businesses you want me to unpack for you, and things I'm not even thinking about. Okay, so I'm in, I don't know what city I was at. I was traveling with Sir James Buchanan, who works as an assistant with me, even though it seems like I work for him sometimes. And we got in late. It was in South Carolina, I believe. And we got in late to this hotel, and that room service was closed. I had to order food, and the delivery was late. And Sir James said he would meet them downstairs. Well, Sir James went to sleep, so they call, and I go down to meet the folks, and I woke Sir James up, so he had to bear witness, and he went down with me. So we're down, and it's midnight, and the driver, is got his food, and they missed the drink. Like, they brought the food. And they always bring in these little plastic bags that you hope that don't burst on you, right? And it's got these plastic utensils and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm a little bougie. I've earned the right after all this time. It's got my 3 million-mile plaque from Delta Airlines alone. I'm another 2 million miles on United Airlines. By the way, we're the financial coach for all Delta Airline employees, by the way. So I get my bag, and he doesn't have his drink. He says, "Oh, the provider forgot the drink." He wasn't saying, "I'm going to go back and get it for you." I wouldn't have him do that, but he didn't even offer. Well, I had already given the guy a very generous tip in the app. My wife has taught me how to do that well on these apps, and I know these people. This is how they make their money, the tips. So I'd already given him a tip, like 25, 30%. And so he's just sort of standing there. And Sir James, the guy reaches out his hands to Sir James. I don't know whether Sir James reached out his hands first or the guy reached out his hand, but anyway, they end up shaking hands. And Sir James said, "Nice to meet you. Have a nice night." The guy looks at Sir James sort of crazy and sort of walks away. I'm like, "Sir James." Reaches out his hand because he wanted an extra tip, and he thought, "Oh, that no, Sir James had gone in his pocket. That's what it was," or put his hand out of his pocket. And the guy reached his hand out to shake his hand, and the guy just assumed. You never want to assume. Remember I said earlier, you make a you know what out of you and me. He just assumed Sir James was giving him another tip, a $20 or whatever, cash, and and Sir James was like, "Have a nice night. Nice to meet you." And I mean, it was Sir James is the king of dead humor, or like dry humor. So it was really quite hilarious. And he's like, "Look, the guy, on top of everything else, the guy didn't even bother to check your order before he got here. What do you want from me?" So uh, it, look, you got to take life seriously. Never take yourself too seriously. Like, you got to find a way to laugh through all this stuff. But this is an example of where I will always remember that this place did not give good customer service. They could have provided an overnight basic menu for those who are traveling, who don't um, want to go external for their food. They want to get there, relax, get undressed, and chill. They don't want to leave their room again, and they'll pay a premium. I pay premium for that, by the way. So it's no expense for the hotel in question. And I also remember the hotel, the Park Hyatt in New York City, that went out of their way after so much business I've given them, and we've given them, that they even had a cooking apron with my name on it. And I don't cook, but I may learn now, and I will remember that forever. Little things matter a lot. This is John Hope Bryant. This is Money and Wealth on the iHeart Network Black Effect podcast series. This is my weekly pulpit of finance, and I'm here to make the streets meet the sweets. Hope you've enjoyed this. Go change your life and get the book, Financial Literacy for All.